You know what? It's so beautiful here that I've decided I'm going to share another experience with you. It's very windy and these trees are giving me shelter from the wind on my microphone, so I'm going to take advantage of that. Again, I'm in Kananaskis country. I'm on the Kananaskis Trail, which runs from between Longview and the Trans-Canada Highway. You're right in the heart of the mountains here. This road will open up in the next couple of weeks, June 15th, for full travel through it. Right now you're limited access to where you can go. That's why I'm in this area. I don't normally shoot when there's near a road, but this view is just so beautiful. And it's something I want to share with you. So I have an experience that I want to share with you. I'm just going to find it here. It's about tremendous loss and how with God's help a man was able to continue forward with his life. Flying an airplane. From the time he was a little boy, it was what Joe Townsend dreamed of doing. So, when he became a pilot for a commercial airline, Joe was now living his dream. One weekend, Joe was flying his wife Kelly and their two young daughters, Laura and Tara, home from a family vacation. Shortly after takeoff, their small plane developed engine troubles and lost power. Volunteer Fire Chief Sheldon Conger was one of the first to arrive at the scene of their crash. When we first pulled up on the scene, it didn't look like there were going to be any survivors, he recalls. It appeared that the plane had taken a nosedive, and the engine and instrument gauges in the dash were all rolled back into Joe's face and into his chest, and were actually lying upon him. Russell Gay was next to arrive. Somebody heard a child in the back behind the pilot, alive and crying, so he just began to take apart the plane by hand. And in the process, we realized the pilot was still alive. On impact, Joe's forehead had collided with the instrument panel. The artificial horizon knob broke through his skull, damaging the areas of the brain that control motor skills and balance. Joe could no longer see or move. But getting anyone out of the plane safely was a challenge. The first thing I noticed when I got out of the truck was the smell of plane fuel, Russell recalls. It was just everywhere. We had a storm front coming in from the northwest, lightning popping. We were so afraid we were going to cause a spark or a fire. At that point, a fire would have taken everybody out. God certainly had his hand in every bit of what was happening, because we never would have been able to get any of them out without his help. Finally, we were able to get the pilot loaded in the ambulance, and it was definitely in God's hands then. Sure enough, I honestly didn't think the guy would ever make it as bad as he was injured. Joe's injuries were catastrophic. His left leg was broken in 3 places, and his right arm was deeply cut from reaching out to shield his daughter. During the crash, Joe's ankle split apart, separating his feet from his legs. Both his kneecaps were broken, and he had internal injuries from colliding with the steering yoke. Brandon Fletcher remembers that day. When we have bad calls like that, the first thing that goes through my mind a lot is, God, please be with them. God, help them. But most of all, help us save them. We need all the direction and guidance we can get in situations like that. And believe me, there was a lot of praying going on that morning. Joe and his youngest daughter, Tara, were rushed to Phoebe Putney Memorial Hospital. Tara died in surgery. Joe was given multiple blood transfusions, which caused a clot that led to cardiac arrest. Then he suffered a stroke and went into a coma. When he woke up 10 days later, he started asking questions. I asked the nurse, "Where's Kelly? Where's Laura? Where's Tara? Where are they? They should be here." She said, "They're in heaven." And I said, "No, you don't know what you're talking about." The next morning, family members confirmed the news. And that was the worst day of my life, says Joe. Joe learned that his wife and daughters had already been buried. He never even had a chance to say goodbye. I cried so hard, he recalls. The sobbing was like a knife in my chest, in my heart, turning. And I finally cried out, "Lord, please help me." And amazingly, within 30 seconds after crying out his name, I felt complete peace. A few days later, Joe was transferred to St. Mary's Hospital Rehabilitation Program. His vision began coming back, and Joe started the daunting task of learning to walk again. Even as messed up as I was, where I basically could do nothing for myself, I would never give up, said Joe, and I always had hope. During his recovery, he also had a lot of visitors, including his neighbor Mark, who was a strong Christian. One day, Mark asked Joe a piercing question. How would you like to see Kelly and your girls again? Joe remembers the conversation that followed. I said, yes, of course. He said, well, there's an easy way to do that. Accept Jesus into your heart, and then you can see them again when that time comes. Romans 10:9, that's the scripture he quoted, that if you believe in your heart and confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, you will be saved. And that's what I did. But the tough times weren't over. Joe dealt with constant frustration and depression, so deep it constantly overwhelmed him. So I prayed for the Lord to take me, he says, and I prayed that prayer for a couple of weeks. But after a couple of weeks, I was still here. So I said, okay, Lord, if you're not going to take me, then leave me here and I will try to do the best that I can. My newfound faith helped me to get through the trials that I had to go through. Over the next year, Joe went from using a wheelchair to a walker to a cane. Eventually, he was able to walk again on his own. I feel that my body healed because of my faith and also my willingness to fight to never give up. Today, Joe has remarried and has a full life. He hopes to fly a plane again someday. He says God gave him the strength to carry on. There's a poem, Footprints in the Sand. I've had some tough times, and through the adversity that I had to face, I leaned on the Lord to carry me, says Joe. And that's when he was there for me. And that is, what an amazing story of perseverance, faith, hope. Anyhow, I'm very glad I could share that with you today. I've got another one. Maybe I'll head on down the highway a little further. I guess one last thing before I go is if you're struggling right now, financially, emotionally, spiritually, due to COVID, due to the economy, for whatever reason, I hope that these videos will help strengthen your faith. Remember, all you have to do is ask the Lord to come into your life. You'll be amazed and surprised at what happens. And please, if you have an experience that you would like to share, could just be an example of how your faith helped you overcome a difficult situation, or maybe an answered prayer, please email it to rockymountaingrace@gmail.com. Include your name or not, I promise I'll respect your wishes. And before I go, I'd like to thank you again for watching my video today. And may God continue to be with you and your family. Thank you. Bye now.